Hello, everyone. So, this has been a long time since I've done a video for my YouTube channel, but I thought I'm going to start doing them. They're not just about books. There is going to be some book stuff as well, and a lot of things when I've done like Q&As and stuff like that and whatever. But I'm going to do a little bit of stuff with things that I'm into as well. So, I should probably be wearing a Halloween t-shirt for this, but if you know me at all, you'll know that I really like horror. Even though I write like, different types of fantasy, especially cozy fantasy. Well, I started off writing horror, and I love particularly 80s slasher movies. They're just like kind of like my comfort watch. And one of my favorites is the Halloween series. So we have under here all of the Halloween movies. Oh, we should do. And they've randomized them as well, so it's not just, a march through from one to Halloween ends. So I'm going to rank them in my order. And this is just my list. I would like to know if you've seen them all, or if all the ones that you have seen where you think that they fall in your list. But this is going to be mine. So we're going to start off with Halloween 2018. This is the kind of reboot, the um, David Gordon Green trilogy. My middle name isn't Gordon, but it is obviously David Green. My middle name is Peter. So this one I really like this one. I really like Halloween 2018. It makes some bold decisions with the timeline of Halloween. People that have, if you're watching this, you probably have some familiarity with the Halloween movies or you're a fan of them, and you will know that the timeline is, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure in certain ways because there are some films that ignore what has gone on before. There are some that follow on from certain films. Um, and even within that, you can pick and choose yourself. A lot of fans do that as well. So with Halloween 2018, it ignores everything except for the 1978 John Carpenter Halloween. Um, so because of that, Michael and Laurie Strode are not related. Um, because that twist comes or revelation comes in Halloween 2 from 1981. So, and I think because of that, there's a lot of misunderstanding with this film. People really liked it when it came out, and I think a lot of like people still do, but there is a certain amount of people that don't, and they think that it's kind of a little bit convoluted and um they don't kind of like a few of the decisions. But one of the things that I always kind of have to think about this film where it kind of gets misunderstood is that everyone is wrong about Michael in this movie. He has like no overriding desire to find Laurie Strode and kill her, which is what a lot of people um, believe that he does. He doesn't. He is just basically just doing his thing and enjoying his life the way that he does when he escapes, which is just going around killing people when he gets the opportunity. Um, and tormenting them. And in the second movie in this trilogy, Halloween Kills, they kind of give this thing where it's like he's just wanting to go home. That's where he likes to go, right? So they add that kind of thing into it. But in this one, it's very much like the original John Carpenter one. He has no real motive or anything. Other people in the movie are trying to ascribe a motive to him, right? You've got Laurie Strode, who is like torpedo the life saying like he's going to escape and he's going to come to me, right? Which he does escape and he does eventually go towards her, but he's put in that path on that path by someone else, right? Which we'll just come to in a little bit. Um, because he is just in Haddonfield doing his thing, and it's actually his psychiatrist who's gone completely mad that is obsessed with what will happen if Michael and Laurie meet again. Will Michael suddenly start to speak? So he's the one who actually brings him, Michael, to Laurie. He has no intention of doing that, as far as we know. And also, the podcasters at the start of it are also kind of obsessed with what's going to happen if Michael meets Laurie again. Kind of like as a surrogate for the audience, really, that we're all asking that, and that's eventually where this trilogy does go with this compensation that the audience does want. But this movie, like, I believe my reading of it is that Michael has no intention. Like, if he comes across Laurie and he has the opportunity to murder her, yeah, he would do. But I think he'd do the same to anyone, which he does. But anyway, I really like this film, and I will put it in. Um, is it S tier? Mm, maybe not, because I do think that there is a little bit of. I mean, yeah, it is. It is for me. I really like it. Yeah, I do. I think it's great. Okay, now we have Halloween 6, the Curse of Michael Myers. Now, there's two versions of this movie. This one came out in 1995. It's actually Paul Rudd's first movie, although Clueless came out first. He filmed this one, and it's had a really troubled production, which is why there are two versions of it. There's a producer's cut and there is the theatrical cut. I've only ever seen the theatrical cut. I can't find the producer's cut. I think it's easier to get in other countries, and you can probably get it from some places on the internet, but I would not know where to go looking for it. And it's a really weird one because, from what I understand of the producer's cut, they really dive more into the cult aspect, the cult of Fawn, which is kind of hinted at in Halloween 4, is kind of brought to the forefront a little bit more in Halloween 5, and is was meant to be the big focus of 6. The theatrical cut kind of it's still in there, but they kind of um, lessen its impact, I suppose. And I've never seen the producer's cut. I can't really compare the two. I can only look at the theatrical one, which is okay. It's fun. I mean, it's watchable. It's entertaining. Um, it's edited in that very kind of like MTV kind of way of the mid 90s, like lots of flashing lights, lots of quick cuts. Um, there's some good action sequences. There's some bizarre decisions, but I think because of its production. Donald Pleasance died before this film came out. He managed to film for this one, but he's underutilized, I suppose, and he isn't really given a great farewell either. But again, I believe the producer's cut is different. What the things that this one has got going for it? Also, they kill off Danielle. No, it's not Danielle Harris. It's uh, um, I'm blanking on her name. Oh dear, that's not gone well. People, if anyone's watching this, will be in the comments. But it's Danielle Harris's character, who becomes one of the best things about Halloween 4 and 5. Um, they recast her and kill her off pretty much straight away, which I think again was going to be different in the Goose Cup. Um, things it has got going for it is that it actually feels like Halloween in this one. It feels like autumn, which is can't be said to a few of the ones in this movie, in this series. But it isn't it isn't great. It's got its problems, but still entertaining watch. I do enjoy it. There's only a couple of films in this series that I don't enjoy, and it's certainly not one of them. And then we come to Halloween Ends. So this one is something that splits people right down the middle. I don't even know if it splits them down the middle. It's not well received, to say the least, um, because it basically tells a completely different story than what has been going on in Halloween 2018 and Halloween Kills. We and there's a bit of um, it doesn't quite line up with me, the start of this movie and what's happened in the intervening years to the end of Halloween Kills. It feels like there was a movie in there or a story in there that we're supposed to know to see, because the last thing we see of Michael Myers in Halloween Kills is in the ascendancy. He's back in his home. He's just killed Judy Greer's character, and that's he's just fought off a mob of people and killed them all in a very entertaining way. A lot of carnage candy in that bit. But then we find him, he's living in the sewers, and he's in a weakened state, and people in the town of Haddonfield have kind of moved on from it, you know. Laurie Strode has turned her life around. Her and her granddaughter don't really kind of seem to care that Judy Greer is dead, which is very strange. But there's something weird about that. And then we focus on Corey Cunningham's character, and it's kind of like sort of saying that how Haddonfield is in search of a new kind of boogeyman. or Boogeyman. And that's the differences between the UK and American pronunciation there. Um, so there is that, and Corey, I think it tells quite a good story, but is it what people want as the trilogy capper of this new trilogy? And then also they kind of do Michael Myers quite dirty in it, with where he is in this kind of weakened state and he's getting pushed around by Corey a little bit. But then, he comes back at the end, and the confrontation with Laurie is a good one. It's a good sequence, although it does feel like it's kind of tacked on. It feels like the David Gordon Green trilogy shouldn't have been a trilogy. Like it should have been either the end it as with Halloween 2018, or the second one should have been Kills with the ending of End on the end of Kills. And then, if they wanted to tell a different story, like, with the ramifications of the lasting effect of Michael Myers on this town and have Corey Cunningham like take up the mantle, do that. That'd be interesting because I actually think it's quite a good story, but it does feel like it's almost from a different series. Um, but where will I put it on my ranking? That is the question. And I do actually enjoy it, and the opening is really good. That opening sequence is surprising. Um, so I'm going to put it there. Might be a bit high for some people, but I do like what it tells. If I look at it in isolation, it's a high B. If I look at it as part of that trilogy of films, it's probably a low B, maybe a high C. But I'm feeling generous today. Okay, and then we come to Halloween H2O, H20, as I believe it's supposed to be called, but everyone just starts calling it H2O. Um, and I remember when this came out, and I never went to watch it because when it came out in 1997, I was 14 years old, so I wasn't allowed to go and watch it. But I heard about it, and I'd seen Halloween on TV, and I think I'd only seen Halloween and maybe bits of the other ones at this point when they were on TV. And the joke was that they kill Michael Myers off at the end, and then the sequel had already been announced, and I knew that. So I knew that was the thing before I ever watched this, and I think it's a great film. I think this one is really, really good. It is screamified to an extent, which is just a product of the time. Taking it out of Haddonfield and moving it to LA kind of lessens, or California, sorry, lessens the kind of Arsenal feel, the Halloween feel, even though it's set in at Halloween. It does lessen that a little bit, but I think the setting really works, that isolated setting in this like private school. I think as a sequel to the original Halloween and Halloween 2, 1981's Halloween 2, it really works. And I think in a lot of ways, the character of Laurie in this one makes a bit more sense than the character of Laurie in Halloween 2018. Some ways, Halloween 2018 would make more sense if it was a sequel to Halloween 1 and 2, but they could sidestep the whole relationship angle between the two, which you can't do really. But, because what happens to Laurie in Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, is traumatic, but it's even more traumatic when you add the events of Halloween 2 into it. And this is something that this film deals with quite a way. So again, it had a bit of a strange production. I believe that in the original scripts, it was treating all of them as canon up to Halloween 6 because of Michael Myers, which is odd because it means that Laurie would have a son and daughter, and a daughter that is now dead, and she doesn't ever mention him other than that, heard other than that. But in the actual movie itself, it's just sequel to the first two movies, and yeah, I think it really works. The cast is good. Josh Hartnett's good in this. He's Laurie's son. I think Michael Myers' performance, I think it's Durant in this one, is really good. There's problems with the mask, which everyone knows about. I think they used 4 different masks in this one. They start off using the mask from Halloween 6, which actually is, I quite like that mask. It's one of the better masks in a series of really, really bad ones. I might one day do a ranking of the masks. Um, uh, and that is something that the David Gordon Green trilogy got right. Um, and they start off with that one in the opening scene, which is a really good opening scene with a young Joseph Gordon-Levitt in it. Um, and then they switch it to the one that's just got the really, really big, wide eyes. Makes Michael look surprised all the time, and you can actually see the flesh around his eyes, which I think is a mistake. It's a strange one. And then they had that horrible CGI mask for one scene as well, which is just bizarre. But other than that, I think this is a really good one. And I think if you just watch Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween, Halloween 2, and then this one makes a really good trilogy. And just leave it there. Don't watch Resurrections. Resurrection. Is it Resurrections? I can never remember. Just don't watch that one afterwards. Leave it as those three, and it's a really strong trilogy. Um, so yeah, there we go. Halloween 2, 1981. Now, I'm not going to put you in any kind of suspense. If you were in suspense, I'm just going to put this right here in S tier. I really like this one. And I love it. And I think it's a really great 1-2 with the original one. A back-to-back feature. It came out a few years later. John Carpenter just wrote this one. He doesn't like it, but I don't think he likes any of them other than maybe the 2018 one and his own one. Um, it has got the reveal that Laurie and Michael are siblings, which some people really like, some people don't. I'm kind of fair enough with it, you know. I think actually the 2018 one deals that quite well. One of the characters actually brings it up, and someone says some people say that, but it's probably not true, right? If you want to believe it, you can believe it. If you don't want to believe it, don't believe it, right? Um, but the actual film itself, Halloween 2, it picks up straight away from the end of 1978 Halloween, and great opening sequence where Michael is just like, he gets up, leaves Laurie's house, and looks for other opportunities and finds them. Um, and but then the majority of it then is set in like a hospital at night time, and it's one of those weird ones where people that are a bit younger and watch this one and think I remember seeing someone saying, "Oh, why is the hospital so empty?" That's what hospitals used to be like at night time in like the 80s and early 90s. They weren't completely understaffed and oversubscribed. They were quite quiet places. Um, but this is a film just pure of Michael just let loose all the way through. There's some great sequences in it, some great kills, great tension, some great imagery in it as well. Where it kind of falls down a little bit, and I say it's an S tier for me, but I think Dick Warlock's portrayal of Michael isn't quite as good. He's a bit more robotic than Nick Castle, who is up there with top two for me with James Jude Courtney. Um, but other than that, I don't think there's many weaknesses for me in this film. I think it's a really, really good one. It deepens the lore of the series a little bit, which again, people can give or take it. There is a beauty of that purity of Michael being the shape and having no insight into anything of him really other than like what he has done. But this one kind of like, it does develop some other things if that's what you want. Shows you a bit more of Haddonfield, shows you the aftermath of the first movie as well, like, how it's impacted people. I really like it. And it's a really good 1-2. It's a little bit more carnage candy than the first one's a bit more blood, a bit more gore, because like it's more of a response to the kind of slasher boom that came out after Halloween, particularly like from Friday the 13th, which I will do a ranking for at some point. But yeah, I love this one. And we come to the original. It's the best. Oh, it's the best. It'll probably always be the best because there are talks of this was going to be a TV series. There's going to be a reboot TV series, which is now going to be a movie again. So what direction that goes, if it's going to be a sequel, if it's going to be a reboot, probably best just doing a completely fresh thing at this point with just, their own kind of modern take on it. But I can never see this one being topped. It's that run that John Carpenter was on in the end of the 70s and the early 80s to mid 80s, absolute classic after classic. And Halloween, there were slasher movies before Halloween, like that had a lot of the things, we weren't really kind of called slasher movies, but this is the first one that kind of pulled all those things together and put them all into, the expected tropes and format of the slasher. And I think it does it better than anything. This is the best slasher movie in my opinion. The tension, the atmosphere, the creepiness of Michael Myers, the everyday slice of Americana that it is just, you know, can't be matched. The score is amazing. Um, yeah, what more can you say about it? Now we come to Halloween Kills. So this one might be, again, I think I'm kinder on this trilogy than a lot of people are when it comes outside of the first film, which I know I've got it ranked in S tier, and some people wouldn't put it that high, but a lot of people would, I think. Kills is one for me that um, I just if I just need just some if I just fancy that I just want to watch a slasher film that I can just for the pure enjoyment of what a slasher goes for. Kills is one of the ones that I put on. So like this for me, Kills and Friday the 13th Part 6, Part 2, kind of because just to give me that kind of that dopamine of what I want from a slasher film. It's just carnage candy. There are some amazing sequences in this. That the recreation of, well, I suppose it's not really a recreation, but when it goes back to 1978 and does the sequence that is set in the aftermath of the first movie is really, really good. James Jude Courtney is great as the shape. Um, the sequence when he comes out of Laurie's home with all the fire and the first responders is superb. Some great bits in it. This one gets a lot of criticism for the whole mistaken identity thing. And again, I think it's one of those things where the people in Haddonfield don't know what Michael Myers looks like, apart from a handful of people who, you know, actually say that's not him when they are mistaken for someone else. The only time that they get to see him is when there is a news program, and it's I guess this is probably the filmmakers both not putting enough focus on this. They're all in the bar at the start, and when they say there has been an escape from the and they name Michael Myers and someone else. They show the images of the screen. They show Michael Myers whose face is obscured, and then they show the other guy who we see, who they mistaken for. So everyone else doesn't know which one it is, right? Because the news program doesn't say it. So when the guy shows up at the hospital and everyone's saying he's going to come for Laurie, he's going to come for Laurie, which he isn't. He's got no intention of doing that. He just in this movie he just wants to go home. People automatically think it's him, right? And I think the story you can it's fair to say that they didn't do a good enough job, I think, of making that clearer. Possibly they could have done it a little bit better. And I think that's it's something that ends builds on a little bit of this mob mentality of this. They're looking for someone to blame. They're looking for someone to get all this fear and anger out on. And so I understand it. I think it could have been done executed a little bit better, but I get it. And I think other than that, the other stuff, the Michael Myers stuff, if you want to watch a movie where it is like the most pure Michael Myers just going around, just doing what he does, it's Kills. Soundtrack is amazing as well. And I think it's also the best mask other than the original. I brought it here, just behind H20, which I think H2O, which I think is just a better film overall, but I enjoy Kills. Okay, Halloween Resurrection, right down there at the bottom. Yeah, it's the worst film in the series. Is it so bad it's good territory, or so bad it's enjoyable to watch? Yeah, I mean, you can have a little bit of fun with it. Um, it's it's definitely the most different of the series. It has that insulting beginning, I suppose, where the previous film Michael Myers had his head chopped off, and it turns out it actually wasn't him. He'd swapped places with one of the paramedics. So it's Jamie Lee Curtis's Laurie Strode is just a murderer, just randomly chops someone's head off. And she's in the asylum and she's waiting for him to her, and then she gets killed by him. Um, and she kisses him for some reason, not sure why. Um, and then after that, it becomes a found footage kind of film, but not a found footage one. It's like it's that vibe, but it's like they're making this uh, live web experience in the Michael Myers house, which is being streamed by Busta Rhymes and others. Katie Sackhoff is in this movie, um, and she gets quite a funny, an entertaining end, I suppose. Um, this is famous for um, Michael Myers being ordered around by Busta Rhymes wearing a Michael Myers mask, also getting his balls electrocuted, and Busta Rhymes doing kung fu on Michael Myers. That they're the things that people tend to remember about this film. It's it's funny in a lot of ways. It's entertaining. Um, is it good? No, it is not. And if you really like Michael Myers, it's a real insult to Michael Myers. Okay, Halloween 4. This one for me is going to go in here. Um, Halloween 4. So Michael Myers wasn't famously is not in Halloween 3. Halloween 3 is not nothing to do with what came before. It was the kind of beginning of what they intended to do, which was a anthology series of different kind of Halloween spooky stories. People didn't like that at the time. People have now warmed on Halloween 3, and rightly so. And if it had just been called Season of the Witch, people probably would have liked it more when it came out. But people were like, this has nothing to do with Michael Myers. We like to see Michael Myers. So, because they did definitively kill him off pretty much in the end of two, he explodes in fire and is burned to death by the looks of it, as is Loomis as well. But they're both back in number 4. And there's that you've got to be on board with that, just to be like, yeah, okay, they're fine. It's been a few years later, and everyone's kind of like, we'll pick this back up. And it's a real return to form. Again, it's more action based than the previous two. Let's say Halloween 1, Halloween 2. Um, it gets straight into it with great looks from Michael Myers, great performance, great look at the start, I should say. At the start, he's kind of just wrapped in bandages, and there's a really great sequence in this like gas stop. Um, there's this really good like kind of like town under siege kind of feeling where like Michael Myers is going around showing his intelligence that he has of like putting all the power to the town, wiping out the police, so no one can kind of come to him, and in his quest to find Danielle Harris because he's kind of comatose until he realizes that he has someone in his family still alive. And he is like have to kill this person, and we find out why for that in Halloween 6 because this is kind of the start of this Bourne trilogy. Um, Negatives, even though I think the performance of Michael Myers, the shape is really good, the mask is not great in this one. And again, there's a mask issue where just like later on in the film, right near the end, he just suddenly has blonde hair. It's kind of weird. Or is it pink hair? It's pink or blonde, I can't remember. Um, and yeah, the mask looks like nothing like it does on the cover. It's really, really not. It's not the worst mask in the series, but it's one of the worst. And I think that's in my opinion. And I think it kind of detracts from it a little bit. I think, if you had Halloween 4 with the original mask, I think it would kind of put it up in people's estimation. The people that kind of detract from it a little bit, but a lot of people and fans of the franchise really, really like Halloween 4, and rightly so. It's a good one. It's strong, good performances. Danielle Harris is great in it. Still blanking on her name for some reason. I don't know why. Rachel is really good. The other final girl in this one is great. Um, yeah, it's a really, really good film. And that brings us to Halloween 5, which is not as good. Um, Probably the worst mask of the series for me. It's the Nicolas Cage one with the really long neck. Performance of Michael Myers isn't great in this one either. Rachel, who's a great final girl from the previous film, is killed off really early in this one and replaced by Tina, who does the functions, performs the same function as what Rachel would do, but not as good. I mean, I don't mind Tina as much as some people. Some people really do not like Tina. Um, but I think she's all right, but she's not as good as Rachel. And it's a kind of, I mean, I suppose it's that shock value of like, um, taking out the final girl from the previous movie. Final Friday the 13th had done that, and other films had done that as well. But I think it's to the detriment of the film. I think it would have been a little bit better with Rachel, but there is um, there is a big problem with this movie, and that is the treatment of Jamie Lloyd. Well, I just remembered. There we go, Jamie Lloyd, which is Daniel Harris's character. So at the end of four has got one of the best endings of the series. It's like they think Michael is gone again, but he's never really gone. But then it seems that Jamie murders her mother, and Donald and Loomis has that great no, and then on the stairs, nothing like that. And you get the image of Danielle Harris with the knife dressed up as the clown, like Michael Myers was at the very start of Halloween. And you got a few different directions that you can go in with Halloween 5. Mainly, Michael's obviously going to be alive and do him and Jamie team up. Is Jamie the person? Do they do that kind of thing? They try to do it ends with Corey Cunningham, but with Jamie. But what they do instead is um, Jamie is just gone completely mute. And then she has this psychic link with Michael Myers, and which Loomis is trying to figure out. But Donald Pleasence is unhinged in this movie as well, and just spends most of his time screaming at Danielle Harris. It's kind of like, calm down, mate. This is not the way to get what you want from this. Um, Kind of very some tame kind of kills in this one as well. And it seemed like it was kind of running out of ideas. There was also just these random scenes of this man dressed in black that where he pops up every so often. That no one in the movie knew what was going on with him. They were just like, we're just gonna put these in and see if we can develop this further. Um, Deals a little bit more in the Cult of Fawn stuff. There's a little bit more of that in there, but nothing to really kind of really reveal what's going on. The ending's not too bad. It's like kind of gothic, which six kind of carries on with. But yeah, it's big missed opportunity this one, especially after the highs of 5. Halloween 3. So I'm gonna pop this one here. So I really like this film, and yeah, I think if it had just been called Season of the Witch, it would have had a kind of response back in the day when it first came out as just its own horror film, you know? Um, Kind of like, if The Fog, John Carpenter's The Fog had come out and was called Halloween 2 at the time, it was before Halloween 2. Halloween 2, The Fog. People would have not, well, maybe after one, they might not have, there might be more acceptance with an anthology thing then, but still, people that would have gone to it expecting Michael Myers would have been disappointed. But as The Fog, it's a classic. People really enjoy it, and it's getting the spot. What people think of it is only growing in time as time has gone on. And maybe this would have been the same with 3. Maybe doing it as the third one was just the wrong timing. Maybe if this came out just after Halloween and people were trained into it knowing it was going to be like an anthology series, but I don't know. But it's a really good film, and it's something that if you have watched all the other Halloween films, but you've avoided three because you know it's not got Michael Myers in it, it's got nothing to do with anything in Haddonfield and all that, which I know people do. Check it out. It's a really good film. It's got a lot of regulars from John Carpenter's 70s and 80s work. Tom Atkins is in here basically playing the same character from The Fog. Um, and he's great as he always is. It's a really good story. It's got a really it's got a earworm jingle in it that you've probably heard from elsewhere around the internet, Silver Shamrock. And it's a really good spooky Halloween story. It's great to watch at Halloween. Um, and people have been warming up to it over the years, which is great to see. Okay, we're down to the final two. Rob Zombie's Halloween. This one for me will come right here. Just oh, sorry, that's number two. Of course it is. Um, that will stay there, I think. Will it? Oh, that's such a tough one. Again, this is just the start of this movie is basically the original Halloween 2 told in about the first 15 minutes. But as a dream sequence, I think it's been a while since I've seen this one. I've seen it a couple of times, but it's been a while. I think it's a dream sequence. And it's really it's brutal. It's like, it's what you'd expect Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 to be if it was going to be a remake of the 1981 version. And then it just becomes its completely own thing, which, you know, is fine, I think. Um, but is that thing that it becomes any good? I don't know. I've watched this a couple of times and it's watchable, but I don't know if I like it or not. Right? I don't even know if I like it more than the original. It is remake 2007 one. It's a movie that really, really stumps me. Um, Michael Myers becomes like this kind of hobo when he's like you see his face all the time. In the director's cut, he talks at the end as well, which I do not like. Um, oh, I don't know. Some people really like this film, and some people really don't. And I don't know where I lie on it. Maybe B, low B is better. But which one would I rather watch out of Halloween, Halloween 2? And we might as well talk about that now. We'll have this round, 'cause it is around here somewhere. So Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween. Terrible, awful dialogue and characters in this. Absolutely awful. Um, Danielle Harris is really good in it, recast, brought back. And she's also in Halloween 2. Kind of think it's a bit weird that someone who is synonymous with the series as a child actor is brought back and spends quite a lot of the time naked. I think that's a bit of a strange choice. Um, it's a bit icky. I think the recast of Laurie Strode is good as well. But then everyone else and Brad Dourif is really, really good. But all the other supporting characters in this are just unpleasant, just horrible. And like, that's fine. It's a slasher movie. They're there to be kind of killed, aren't they? But still, even Loomis is not as bad in the 2007 one, but in Halloween 2 is absolutely unbearable. And then the first part of this film is just basically spent with Michael as a child and then growing up while he's in the asylum basically and almost psychiatric ward. And then the second half, or not even the second half, but the last 50 minutes become Rob Zombie's remake of Halloween, which is a not as good version of Halloween, basically. Um, for me, like his take on it all, like I think some of the carnage in it is effective, but Michael Myers is too big for me in this. I think like I prefer like a Nick Castle or a James Jude Courtney where they're still big. They're at 6 foot, over 6 foot, but they kind of got that more like liveness. They're more like a cat. Whereas in the Rob Zombie ones, he is like more like a Jason Voorhees kind of force of nature. I mean, that takes away from it a little bit. And the kind of the mask work on this as well, it's very kind of just that grungy kind of it seems like it's trying too hard. Like, and Halloween 2018 and Kills and Ends has that kind of grungier aged take on the mask, but it just looks better. But is this better than Halloween 2? Which one would I prefer to watch? Are they as bad as Halloween 5 and Curse? Hmm. Hmm. You know what? I think this is where this goes this way. Curse needs to move with this one. Move. Move. There we go. Then Halloween 2. Oh, tough one. I could go back and forth on these all the time. Mm, there. That is it. That is it. That is my Halloween ranking. Rob Zombie, you've caused me issues. Not a lot comes in the middle. And yeah, I would say that Ends is for me is right bang in the middle. And you know what? All of these, apart from Resurrection, I mean, even Resurrection, if it was on TV, I would watch it. It's entertaining enough. In fact, I think for entertainment value, Halloween is the one that I would like. Rob Zombie's Halloween is the one that I would watch the least out of all of these, but I think it is better than Resurrection. So yeah, I'm happy with that. So there we go. Let me know what you think of this that I have created for your entertainment, and I will be back to do more from other franchises and series and things in the future, and maybe whenever the next Halloween movie comes out we will see where it lies. So thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. Check out my books. All the stuff is in the thing below. And until next time, hopefully it won't be years like it was this time.